probably one of the most important cases pending right now against the Trump administration, and there are 400 of them, has been brought by Rob Bonta, the California Attorney General, on behalf of the great state of California, in the name of Gavin Newsom, its governor, against the Trump administration, related to Trump's takeover and federalization of the National Guard in California, of course being done for political reasons because Donald Trump wants to embarrass a political rival, and the violations, as alleged, of the Posse Comitatus Act, which since our post-Civil War period has prevented presidents from using federal troops on domestic soil for law enforcement purposes. And there's a 3-day trial going on right now in San Francisco brought by California. Who better to brief our audience than the Attorney General of California, Rob Bonta, who joined me for an exclusive interview here on Legal AF, along with the president of the Democratic Attorneys General Association, Sean Rankin. He represents 23 different attorneys general, some of them not even working for Republican governors or Republican legislatures. They're out there doing our job, being the firewall between Donald Trump and the American people. And here's the interview. Is part of what happens with a group like DAGA is it also facilitates a collegiality among the 23 who got elected or appointed to their positions, but may not, there's no summer camp you all go away to. I mean, it's, bunk mates. So does this foster friendship and collegiality that ends up benefiting constituents because of those relationships?
Yeah. When I first came into the organization, the AGs had a history of working together, tobacco being a great example when everyone leaned in, both D and R. But you didn't see that as often. And one of the things that we had to do is we had to build a platform that enabled the AGs to engage at a much faster rate and constantly. Giving credit where it's due, it was sitting with former Attorney General, now Governor Maura Healey of Massachusetts in those early days and saying, okay, we know what's coming. We're seeing Trump 1 come. How do we actually get the AGs to communicate more effectively, more often, and make sure that they have what they need? And so Maura and a number of other AGs work with me to come up with a certain set of tools and practices that we still implement to make sure that we're providing support. And one of the unintended outcomes, at least from in that moment, was that all the excellent things that our Democratic AGs saw each other doing, they started to imitate. And so it was this mirroring principle that I remember learning about in business school 20 years ago, where when the AGs were actually sitting across the table from each other physically or, digitally now, right? And they're seeing this and they're sharing information, they're learning from each other, the rate of action continued to increase. Mm-hmm. And as I've been here now almost 10 years, it's gotten so fast and they're so good at it that there really is this informal, borderline formal, orientation that actually happens with them as Democratic AGs. There is a National Association of Attorneys General. There is an orientation for a lot of the basics. But what happens when you get in the room and you're sitting with your colleagues when, you've got Rob and you've got Tish James and you've got Dana Nessel and you've got these great attorneys general and you're a new attorney general, you learn very fast how to coordinate and engage. Mm-hmm. You understand. In fact, something that I think is really special about this group, and I'll say about the Democratic AGs for the last 10 years, they are open to each other. There is not a lot of exclusion. There is not this intentionality of pushing people away. AG Bonta has the biggest AG's office in the country. And I recognize, and we should recognize him for the leadership to let other people lead, to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to take work and be first in line. His office may do a lot of it, but there is a lot of sharing around this table. And that goes to the character of the people who are doing this. They actually operate in a way that we would all hope they did. Mm-hmm. And I do believe that there's something to be said for when you actually link together in the way that they do, that they help each other in a way and they develop these deep relationships. And I'll even go so far as say those 6 AGs who are now governors, who were AGs during this time, regularly talking to Bashir still, regularly talking to Healy still, Shapiro's office, right? Those AGs who want to come in and participate because they have standing as governors, but also this is a family. You build that type of relationship. So getting back on the phone with Governor Healy and Governor Beshear, it's the regular. It's actually not atypical. It's something we do all the time.
Yeah, and listen, that's going to make our audience sleep better at night, knowing that the attorneys general are so collaborative and so cooperative, right? And joining together. And just so people know a little bit more about Attorney General Bonta, from what my own research, you have a very interesting background getting here. You were a vice mayor of a town, right?
Yep.
You were a member of the state assembly in California. So you've been on that side, retail politics, right? And governance. I have a little bit of a background. I was with a law firm for years that was the city attorney for 23 cities in Florida. So I've been on that dais, at least as the acting city attorney that day. I understand that. And you did some of that as well. And then, Governor Newsom brought you in. Had you worked with him in San Francisco?
Yeah, I knew him in San Francisco. I was in the San Francisco City Attorney's Office.
Right.
And knew him as Lieutenant Governor.
Yeah.
And then governor through my role as a legislator. So we've had a relationship for a number of years leading up to his appointment in 2021.
Our audience will follow you wherever you want to go next. After, and we'll leave it at that. But I do want you to General Bonta, I would like you to address this Posse Comitatus Act case. And just so our audience remembers or knows, when Judge Breyer issued his initial injunction in favor of California about the federalization or the commandeering of the National Guard in California, which was reversed or blocked from that issue about the 10th Amendment and about constitutional violation, the violation of a particular statute that allowed for commandeering or not, whether there were the elements were present. They did not, because they could not address the Posse Comitatus issue coming off of our Reconstruction period in history, which assures the American people that the federal troops will not be used on domestic soil for domestic law enforcement purposes, coming out of the promises that had to be made. I won't go into all the details during a presidential run in order to get the Southern Confederacy to feel comfortable that they would come back to the Union. And so we've had that but we never been tested in all of that. But that Posse Comitatus Act issue, Judge Breyer said, I need more facts. I'm not going to do it on briefing. Develop your facts, do your discovery. Let's have a 3-day trial in August. And people were like, that's interesting. And all of a sudden, we just started a 3-day trial, criminal trial in federal court today against the Trump administration. Here's what General Bonta had to say before the trial started. 2 months ago, the federal government deployed military troops to the streets of Los Angeles for the purposes of political theater and public intimidation. This dangerous move has no precedent in American history, erodes trust between the American military and the public, and pulls our service members away from their vital role in fighting wildfires and tackling the fentanyl epidemic. And then you said today, 300 federalized California National Guard members remain tools in the president's game. And the Trump administration seeks to advance that argument that there should be no limits on what federal troops can do. But that is not what our law allows. And now we started that trial. Why don't you tell our audience a bit about the case and if anything that you'd like to share about day one?
Well, today we went to trial, the first of 3 days of trial before Judge Breyer. It's a civil trial to determine whether the Posse Comitatus Act has been violated, and we believe it has. We've prepared for trial by taking depositions of key military personnel, and we believe that the evidence will show, and we sort of made our case in chief today, and we believe that we did show that the military personnel on the ground in Los Angeles that were deployed 60 days ago, the 4,000 National Guards people and 700 Marines, that they were involved in civilian law enforcement, in perimeter support, and in blockades, and involved in immigration enforcement activities with no military purpose. They were also involved in blocking and obstructing the free movement of Angelenos in Los Angeles, involved in traffic enforcement, which is law enforcement, as military admitted. So we believe that there are strong facts that we've shown through the words of the U.S. military personnel who are the witnesses that the Posse Comitatus Act was violated. Frustratingly and ironically, after the federal administration argued that there was a rebellion and the inability to enforce the federal laws in LA, they are now saying in the trial that basically the 4,700 military personnel deployed to LA basically did nothing. And I definitely agree that there was no need for them to be there, but they were involved in civilian law enforcement, as the evidence shows, and as we are showing in trial. So we believe that Judge Breyer will find what the facts and the law demonstrate, and that we make a compelling case for, which is that the Posse Comitatus Act has been violated by the Trump administration in the first 6+ months of his administration. He disrespected these patriots and these servants. The National Guards people were doing important work, tackling fentanyl and tackling wildfires. The Marines never should have been deployed, nor the National Guard, to LA. And while they were there, they violated one of our core laws, based and steeped in our history. This idea that the British monarch can't use the military for civilian law enforcement. That has been a through line of our law and a cornerstone of what our country stands for. And Trump has violated it. So we believe we made a strong case today. We look forward to finishing the trial, making our case to Judge Breyer, and eagerly awaiting a ruling, which we believe will be in our favor.
And the political undertones. Trump would have tried this in a red state. This is to I'll say it if you won't. This is to embarrass a Democratic rival and a Democratic blue state. He would never pull this in the South or anywhere else. That's his MAGA base. This has nothing to do with rebellion. This had everything to do with political calculus.
100%. The biggest blue state, the biggest city in the biggest blue state by design. No need for them to be there. When they arrived, they arrived to quiet streets, the military that were deployed 60 days ago. And it was all political theater. They escalated and inflamed instead of calming. And it was all for his own political ends.
And we know our audience is very proud of your governor and the mayor of Los Angeles and how they're standing up so tirelessly against this tyrant. When you talk about it as a civil case, even though there's criminal aspects of the Posse Comitatus Act and fines, what is if you win? What have you asked the judge to do about if he finds a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act? What has California asked him to do about it?
We're mostly looking for important guardrails going forward. Trump thinks he has none, that the military can be on American soil in the biggest blue state in our biggest city in that state and do what they want when they want without any accountability or oversight. We want an order, making it clear what is appropriate and what is not, that blockades are not appropriate, that perimeter support is not appropriate, that traffic enforcement is not appropriate, that participating in immigration enforcement is not appropriate. That is all civilian law enforcement, not appropriate for the military. So we want a clear order. We want the injunctive relief and the declaratory relief. The injunctive relief will be prospective. The declaratory relief will be both. It will declare that the Posse Comitatus Act has been violated and make it clear what the guardrails are for how they can comply with the law going forward.
And the losing party in that trial, which I'm going to agree with you, will be Donald Trump, and they take it up to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Is it going to be the same 3-judge panel?
It could be. Yeah. And probably a significant chance that it would be, since they've seen the case before and they've read the papers and the briefing. It's a different issue, but it's a related issue. They looked at the justification for the deployment of the National Guard in the first case that they saw where they issued the stay, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. This is Posse Comitatus, but similar factual predicate.
Yeah. Well, we'll follow that closely. But on behalf of our audience, General Bonta and the President Rankin of the Democratic Attorneys General Association, I can't tell you how pleased our audience is going to be to hear about what the attorneys general do, what the association does, and they're going to sleep a lot better at night knowing that you guys and others, of course, are on the front lines defending our democracy. It really is the last firewall. So you and the public interest groups. I said at the time of the election, And I talked about the attorneys general at that time and their winning record of success in the first term. I said if there were 1,000 lawsuits filed in the first term, there were going to be 3,000 to 4,000 lawsuits filed. I said that right after the election. Right now, it's running true to form.
You're right. You were right. Clairvoyant. We're at double the pace.
Yeah, I figured he would be double the abuser.
He is. And I'll also just add, we got a full tank of gas. We're full of energy. We've brought, the 37 cases over 40 with all AGs when you consider all the combinations up to now, and we're not slowing down. Any and every time the president breaks the law, violates the Constitution, we'll sue him, and we'll only bring cases where we think we'll win, and we hope to maintain our high level of success that we've already enjoyed.
Attorney General Rob Bonta of the great state of California.
Thanks, Michael.
And President Sean Rankin of the Democratic Attorneys General Association joining us here on Legal AF. Thank you both, gentlemen. We look forward to seeing you again.
Look forward to it too. Thanks for having us.
Welcome back. We do some unique content here on Legal AF. Sure, we've got the videos of our legal commentators like myself talking about from our own law experience or journalism experience what is going on with the Trump administration in and out of the courtrooms and cases and controversies that you need to know about. That is for sure. But we also bring on the newsmakers, the people that are in the trenches, the lawyers that are litigating the cases, the public interest groups like Democracy Forward, and the attorneys that all are arrayed against the Trump administration from the attorneys general offices around the country. We bring in U.S. senators and U.S. congresspeople. We bring in mayors, elected officials, historians, former judges, all so that they can brief our audience and connect to our audience and get a direct feed, a direct line of sight of what's happening without the spin. No sunshine or smoke is blown here, as you know. I'm Michael Popok. Take a minute. Vote for this type of content the only way I know how. Hit the subscribe button. Help us continue to grow this pro-democracy channel. So until my next report on Legal AF, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.